Ready for the best leg pump of your life? Meet the Legacy Leg Extension and Hamstring Curl Machine by Bells of Steel. It's designed with innovation at its core, featuring a patent-pending toggle mechanism that will give you the deepest quad stretch possible. I'm Kayvon, founder of Bells of Steel. Let's get into an overview. I'm going to start this off with a bold claim. I'm going to say that this is the best leg extension that I've ever used. That includes the stack leg extension that I've been working on for over 2 years. Includes anything that I've ever used at a commercial gym. And I'm going to go into a deep dive overview of everything going on with the Legacy. That includes the toggle mechanism, the bench adjustability, the specs and features and materials used, and the engineering ideas behind it. It includes the attachments that we've developed for it and the future attachments that I'll be developing for it as well, and how to use it and use it safely, as well as just some of the exercises you can do with it. The two biggest problems with plate loaded leg extensions is one, there's no resistance for this first 6 or 8 inches of the extension, and then there's too much resistance at the top, which creates a really poor strength curve. The second biggest problem is that your range of motion is kind of dictated by the adjustment of the machine itself. So even though I can do a full range of motion leg extension, I'd have to set the arm all the way back, and then I'd have to try and jam myself into the machine and then go. And then try and get out afterwards. And it's extremely awkward and not ideal. This is how the toggle fixes those issues. So here's how you set it up. So I like to get in empty, and then I'll extend out. There is some variability. You can select different holes. I like going to just the max all the time. I think it's the best, but something you can play around with. And then I set the actual arm into like a comfortable position that I can easily kind of get in and out of the machine. Now that you have it set in the position you want, you can load on your plates. And we have tested this pin and the sleeve to about 7 or 8 plates. And one thing that I really like about the toggle too, just as an additional safety feature, I put the pin in whenever I'm loading and unloading plates, so you don't get that whiplash that you'll see on some leg extensions, where you take a plate off and all of a sudden it whips around and can give you a bit of a knock. So I always keep my pin in whenever I'm loading and unloading. Now I'm gonna get into the machine. You can see I can comfortably get in, there's lots of space for me. And then I'm gonna apply just a little bit of pressure on the leg pad to get it off the pin. And then I'm gonna slide the pin out, and you can see I'm doing like a full stretch. I can't physically go any further. So, and the resistance is starting here. And then I can do a nice full extension. And now there is still a strength curve, right? It's a little bit lighter on the top now because the arm is going so high. And I wouldn't say like heavier at the bottom. You know what I'd say? I'd say it's perfect. And then when you're done, you're set. You can just squeeze it out a little bit more and get it back into place. If you are totally gassed and you can't get it back into the original spot, you can just put it into a different hole. Doesn't matter. And later I'm going to show one backup safety mechanism that you can use if you're maybe training by yourself and going extremely heavy. But yeah, it is pretty simple to get it back either in the first hole you started in, or if you're totally gassed, into a different hole, and pretty simple to get in and out. So the benefits of that toggle is, of course, like I said, the full range of motion resistance. So unlike most machines that only load midway and have that dead space in the first 8 to 12 inches, ours applies resistance right from the very first degree of motion. You've got more time under tension. Your quads work harder through the entire range, maximizing muscle activation and growth potential. It also builds strength at weak angles. So a lot of people, the bottom range of the movement is usually where they're weakest. So it helps build that. Performance and rehab benefits. So great for sports training and targeting that deep knee flexion that often gets neglected. I'm going to give you some tips on how to use the toggle. So you don't want to grab it too close, even though grabbing it closer a little bit easier to get it in and out. And the reason is because there's moving parts there. And you can grab it on the longer end if, let's say, you're doing like a lying leg extension or lying leg curl, but kind of the sweet spot is right around here. And with your legs, you're just gonna apply a little bit of tension to the pad, and that's gonna kind of release this, and you're gonna be able to easily slot that out. And then getting it back in is a little bit easier. You just gotta push, and eventually a hole will line up. And you do wanna have it poking out like that. For instance, if you know you got it in a little bit and it was just partially like that, that's a little less, that's not as safe. You want to get it fully through where it's peeking out there. Obviously don't poke your fingers over there like I am right now. A safety feature I'll mention too is this stopper, and this is for pretty extreme scenarios. Let's say you were doing leg extensions and you tore a muscle and you couldn't possibly muster up the strength to get it 1 centimeter and back into the toggle. You're kind of stuck, right? And so what the safety stopper does, it goes into the side of the legacy. It's got a couple different options, and it acts as a stopper. And you can still get a great deep range of motion, not quite as much as not having it there, and it will stop. And then you can safely and easily get out of the machine if you were to hurt yourself. Next big feature I'm going to go over is the seated hamstring curls. So how I like to set up for this is I like to get into a leg extension mode, and then I like to pull the pin out, kick it out, let it set in, and then put the toggle in, and then put this up to a comfortable hamstring position. This, about there. Then I'm gonna load my weight on, and yeah, always use a collar on this machine, whether you're doing leg extensions, hamstring curls, whatever. The plates will work themselves loose. We include a little collar, spring collar with it, but it is a true 2-inch tube, so you can use any 2-inch collars that you have at home. It's not axle size or anything like that. And then you're gonna get the hamstring curl leg holder. And so I don't actually like to use this on leg extension. I prefer having it out. I think it's only, in my preference, really useful for hamstring curls. And something that's unique about this, we've got the handles on the top, which I really like for hamstrings. When I was teasing this, we had several people request to have the handles on top, whereas most of them, they're just the handles on the side that you grip onto, same as you kind of do the leg extension, but it's nice to do it on the top. So get into position, and then you pop this in, set it to where you need it, and away you go. So there are a number of holes for the toggle, but there is actually on the outside of the fan itself is cut out, curved out, so you can actually rest it on there. Although I do recommend using the holes themselves, but I found sometimes, like with exercises like hamstring curls, I will end up using it. Of course, it's a little bit less secure because it's not held in on both sides, but yeah, I do find myself using it often with hamstring curls. So in addition to the toggle being used for like better resistance curve and extension, I think it's actually a great safety feature. So you can see I don't have the toggle in right now, and I'm unloading my plates, and you'll see this, it's gonna whip around, right? And that could, you know, knock yourself or whatever. And there's all kinds of different positions and scenarios that this could really get whipped around and hurt somebody. Now there's a stopper on the top, but let me just demo that again. Got my toggle set when I'm taking the plate on and off, and of course, nothing happens. We're gonna talk adjustability now, and we've got 5 points of adjustment on the Legacy. And so the first one is the actual toggle and the toggle fan itself. And like I said earlier in the video, I like to kind of crank it to the max. That's my favorite position. But you can experiment with different holes in there to get a different resistance curve or find what works best for your body type. And then you've got the actual arm itself, where you can adjust it to different places for hamstring curls, leg extension, lying hamstring curls, etc. And this is all numbered too. So this is a feature, we'll start rolling this out to a lot of our products that have a dial, something greatly requested, something that you can note down, when you find those perfect positions, you can say, okay, that was in 31 or it was in 21 or whatever. So it helps you memorize that set position. I will mention too, on the toggle, we will have a sticker on here, just a little bit of a guide of like where to set it for doing hamstring curls or leg extensions. So for the bench, you can adjust the back pad all the way down into like a decline. Maybe use that for like a lying leg curl. And then the seat itself, get down, this is the steepest angle it can go down. And again, go up, get into a flat position with top pad, a little bit of it. And the reason for this having such a steep angle is this has become quite popular. People have asked for this to have a steep angle when doing leg extensions. And it seems for the back pad, a lot of people are getting into like almost a lying leg extension. And so this you can adjust into whatever kind of back position you want. I'm gonna go over some of the features I haven't talked about yet and the specs. And like anything I do at Bells of Steel, I'm always designing for home gyms first and trying to get that best bang for your buck. So with that, I'm going to start with the padding and vinyl a little bit. So a little bit more of a premier vinyl. I think it looks cool and it feels great. But the star of the show really is this leg roller and leg pad. I'm really excited about this because we started off with this one, which is kind of like more of an industry standard. And I said, no, this is not good enough for Bells of Steel customers. It needs to be almost double the thickness. And so we doubled the thickness of it just about. And not only is it comfier, but I genuinely believe it gives like I don't know what it is, but it gives like a better resistance curve. It feels better. Even though you're getting that full stretch, just with that double thick pad on there, I really loved it. Next, I'll get into the actual steel itself. So this uses 2.3 by 2.3 inch or 60 by 60 tubing, which is the same as our light commercial power rack, like kind of more of our intro power rack series. And it does have like the same hole sizes too. And the main reason I did that is, there's maybe some crafty things you could do, like maybe some band pegs, what have you. But I wanted to leave it open for future attachment development, which I'll get into later. And then you can see it's got this little extension that comes off here, this little foot. And the reason for this is when I was training with like really heavy weight and going as hard as I could, really maxing it out, it was getting like a little bit tippy. And I said, okay, let's get a little bit more extension on there, make sure that doesn't happen. Next, I'll get into the handles. So they got a nice rubber grip on them. They're super solid. No wobble on there. And go into this back storage port, which I think is quite clever. And so this back storage port, you can put your leg holder in for like when you're not doing hamstring curls. And then that also can store some other attachments that we currently have and are developing. I'll mention the plate storage on here. So these horns act double as a plate storage and like hand grips for doing lying leg curls. And you can see that they're angled out and the stopper starts so it doesn't interfere with the bench itself. And now we do kind of recommend having a little bit of weight on the back just to really secure it down. But I've definitely found with that front kind of foot extension that most instability, even with super heavy weights, has gone away. I already touched on the actual plate peg itself earlier, but just to reiterate, it is a true 2-inch plate peg, so any Olympic collars are going to fit on there, and although it does come with a spring collar. And we've also tested it. I'll have the exact weight capacity on the webpage, but my friend came in and helped train and test it with me. He's a big, strong fella, and we had about 7 or 8 plates on there for reps. And I will quickly mention that it can be bolted down on the back, so maybe you had it in a commercial facility and you didn't want it moving around, it does have that option. I'll just quickly mention everything that comes default with the Legacy. So you've got your leg holder, your leg pad, one spring collar, and everything you see here, the machine itself. Now we're going to talk attachments and ports. So I've left the Legacy as future-proof and as open as possible, but the first attachment we have is a preacher curl. And how this works is, and what you get, and this is sold separately. And so there's this arm attachment kind of guide thing I'll show you, and then there's the actual preacher pad itself. And then it doesn't come with a cable attachment. This is an example of one you can get from us. I just felt that given how many cable attachments we have and how a lot of home gym users have a lot themselves already, that we just leave that part out, and you could pick whatever attachment you wanted. And so how you swap it out is a little threaded knob on the end of the leg pad here. So you take that off, and then you pull the pad off, and you replace it with this sleeve. Put the knob back on. Attach your cable attachment that you want, and take the preacher curl pad, pop it in the port, and there you go. Here's how to safely set up the preacher curl. So you've got on the dial here 29, and on the leg dial you've got a 7, and then I've got that safety stopper pin holding the arm back. And that is because if you missed your re-rack, then you could take a nasty bump on the shins from the attachment. Who's the Legacy leg extension for? I mean, ultimately it's for anyone who misses leg extensions, who's training at home. Leg extension machines and lat pull downs are kind of those two signature pieces from commercial gyms that people often miss when they start their home gym. And so yeah, it's for anybody who misses that, and it's for beginners and even more advanced athletes with that toggle feature on it too. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really think you're gonna love this machine. Like I said earlier, it's the best leg extension I've ever used in my life. And our first patent that we're working on too for that toggle, I really do think it is a special feature that creates like an incredible experience for you. Leave a comment below too. I'd love to hear what attachments you think we should do next with this. And remember, we've got this port, we've got this port, we've got the tubing itself. And if you want to buy one yourself, click the link below and let the gains begin. I'm Kayvon, founder of Bells of Steel. I hope you loved that video. And if you want to check out any more of our products or follow us on social media, click the links below in the description and let the gains begin.